Welcome back to another episode of the PokeStop podcast. I'm your host, Zach Pra, as always, joined by my co-host, Thad Wand. And Thad, we have a special episode today because at the time of our recording, it is in fact Pokemon Day, celebrating the 29th anniversary of Pokemon Red and Green, debuting in Japan. Thad, how are you doing today?
I will be doing. That is a fact.
I'm going to be honest. So usually I'm the one who's always mad, but today that's you. It's really weird. I feel like you should be like leading this show. And like, I feel like we should just like switch our cameras. So like you can just be Zach Pra for a day and just be shouting about how you hate the game.
Yeah, we were definitely going to be getting to how annoyed and upset I am about some of the things announced on Pokemon Day, but overall, Pokemon Day was a relative success. There's a lot of cool things that we have to talk about it. I like to talk about the cool things first before I get off the rails. And
very true. You know, I think
start shouting like a monster.
Yeah, I think 99% of Pokemon fans, outside of a 30-second clip, have nothing but happy things to say about Pokemon Day's presentation. And I think, like, I, for one, like, I watched it. I ended up watching it after. I didn't realize it was starting at like 9 a.m. I thought it was like, I don't know why I thought it was way later. So like I like my Discord's blowing up just seeing all these people complain about it, and I'm like, oh, I missed something. But I think most of it was really cool. Yeah, there was a lot of cool stuff going on. But first, we do need to talk about something that happened last weekend. We had the EUIC tournament with, honestly, I don't know anyone who had this on their bingo card of Cloth beating Dragapult in the finals.
Nope, definitely not on my bingo card. Actually, I think during our tier list, I told you that Cloth was a fake deck. So
I think we both said it was a fake deck. Yeah, we both definitely had Cloth as the no shot. This wins the event category, but you know,
I still
can't get them all.
I think it was definitely like one of those like the right timing with like the right matchup. You know. Still fake.
Yeah, I honestly wish we could get the matchups people played on Limitless. I know it would be really hard, and like they do a great job already, so like I'm not gonna like complain that hard. But like it would just be so nice to see what they played. Because like, did a deck do really well, or did a deck just kind of hit the right stuff at the right time? You know, I think a lot of times we deal with that kind of situation. But as always, shout out to Ryuki Okada from Japan. I do love that I love when like Japanese players come to like not Japanese events and do really well. I think that's really cool for the game. I think a lot of times like Japan gets kind of put on an island, no pun intended there. But I think a lot of times they get put in like their own like category of like Pokemon players, and I think it's really cool to see players who don't always get a spotlight to just do really well. I mean, we had Ryuki Okada from Japan, Natalie Millar from Australia. We had a player from Italy in top 4. So I do like seeing all these different countries being represented in the top 8. And it's not like super heavy with like the United States or like England or like countries that traditionally have a larger population of players.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting because they also won another tournament in this in the western side, I guess, of the Pokemon, you know.
Yeah, that
market,
is also true.
I guess they won Dortmund earlier.
Dortmund,
this year,
yeah, they won Dortmund with Terrapico's Dusknoir, and honestly, Ryuki has had a really good season. Not only on his own side in the Japanese tournaments, he's gotten out 2. Ryuki?
Yeah, he won Dortmund with Dragapult.
Yeah. I said that.
I think you said Terrapagos.
Did I? Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a Bolt player, so I don't know how to speak. Yeah, so like okay, so the reason I said that
it's all
yeah. So I'm looking at his Limitless profile, and the tournament he went to after that, he played Terrapagos Noctowl, getting top 64 at LAIC, and also a top 32 finish with the Dragapult Iron Thorns at the Perth Regionals back in December. So honestly, a guy who is having a really good season for himself. He also got top 16 at the Champions League back in February. So really cool for him to be able to have that kind of a showing. And I totally lied. The Champions League was 2024 February, so it was actually a year ago. But still really cool for him. Having a really good year for him. So he has that Worlds invite locked up 2 times over now. So that's kind of cool, you know. Maybe someone else. No. So shout out to him for doing that. We also had Goldango in top 4. Xander Pero, super accomplished player. If you don't know who Xander Pero is, I don't know. You're living under a rock. But this looks like it was a list that was like his whole group in like top 128, John Ang, Isaiah Bradner, Grant Shen, Rahul Reddy, Xander Pero, all playing the same list. Lucas King got top 256 with the list as well. So definitely a big group who worked on this list, and, you know, kind of shout out to them for kind of crafting a list that did really well and having like a very successful kind of day with this deck, which is really cool to see. Especially a deck like Goldango that I think was really undervalued going into this tournament. Just to see that much and that consistent of success is really cool. And obviously they're all, you know, all those people are all really good players. So it's almost weird, like expecting like day 2 IC finishes from people, but like it's also just like what you expect those people to do.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, looking at this list, there is one card that is really weird to me, is they played a one of the Technical Machine Evolution, which I've never thought as a card you would play in that deck.
I mean, it makes sense though. I mean, being able to throw a 260 HP, just big dude on your bench at the end of your turn, and it doesn't waste like your energy attachment that you probably have to throw down anyway. So yeah, it checks out.
They also ran only one Earthen Vessel, which is really crazy to me. But I also
like I feel like that's going to be a staple in Goldango going forward. Just more recovery and less search.
Sure. Yeah, I think building this deck almost like a tanky deck is really crazy. And like I guess it makes sense in the format, right? Like you expect to see a lot of Dragapult and they can't really one-shot you. So like taking that damage off the board and not giving them a way to like chain those 4 and 6 prize turns seems really strong for this deck. And you just have a way to keep knocking them out when you're able to search all your energy turn 1 and you have huge knockouts and then just recoup that with your superior energy retrievals and all the different ways this deck has to do things, especially with Cypher Maniacs. In addition to Goldango's draw ability, Pheasantipity, and the Radiant Greninja. So honestly, really cool. From them, I think we should have a moment of silence for the Snorlax decks that made top 8, because I really don't like that you made top 8. To be honest.
I mean, the one thing about the Snorlax list is one of them was piloted by Daniel Magda, who's like having a super good like breakout year. I think that they top 8'd 2 other regionals or a regional
let me
as well this
see.
Season?
So this year, just kind of going. Yeah, this is actually his first season in Masters. He had some. I mean, he's got decent finishes in seniors. He's got a top 8'd Worlds in 2022, top 4'd LAIC in 2022. In the 2023 season, got 2nd at NAIC last year. Top 16 Worlds last year, but this season, he's having a really good season so far. He got 15th at the Lille Regional back in October, top 4 in the Gdansk Regional, top 4'd LAIC. All those so far this year with Drago, but this format seems to be more on the Snorlax train. He got top 256, which is kind of crazy when like top 256 is your worst of 5 finishes.
Insane.
And then now with his top 8 at EUIC, so really really good season he's having so far, so congrats for him. From the Czech Republic, so that's also really cool to see another player kind of having like that breakout season from a country we don't traditionally think of Pokemon, so that is really cool. And honestly, his deck seems really straightforward. Snorlax, I mean, he only outside of the Snorlaxes, he only plays one Rotom, one Cornerstone. And outside of that, I'm seeing a lot of 4s, and 3s on the trainer counts. I mean,
yeah, I mean, I think this list is specifically doesn't like really heavily designated to help with the Lugia matchups with the a huge amount of flutes, the Giacomo, definitely can tech out for those Lugias, which is really really problematic for you, a really really problematic archetype for
sure.
you. And that's honestly your only really awful matchup, and everything else you're just kind of like you're making them really have to dig for things. It's a good list.
Yeah,
I hate the deck, but it's a good
yeah,
list.
I agree. Yeah, I actually, we were at a cup a few weeks ago, and I won in a raffle the Dragonite V-Star box that came with 9 Pokemon Go packs. I pulled 2 Snorlaxes and ripped them in half immediately, like on site. Like I refused to even want to sell them to someone. It's like I wouldn't want to sell someone nuclear codes. Like I just don't want this. With great power comes great responsibility. So I just had to say, let's get this out of here. Let's just rip these up. And felt good to rip that up. I'm gonna be honest.
You did it.
I did it. I did the thing. Another surprise was with another player playing Dragapult, but not the big group that did well with the list. Was Yell Van Kampen. I hope I'm saying that right. But they've also been on this deck. Like this has been like their deck this season. So like really cool to see a player who has really just stuck with a deck, consistently having good results. It's their 3rd day 2 this season with Goldenga, which is really impressive. Really cool to see that. For sure. I'm honestly surprised there wasn't a Bolt in like the top 16.
No, I think the highest placing Bolt was 71st.
I think you're right. Also, Miraidon had a really bad weekend. I believe their highest was 26th. Yeah, so like definitely this has been a very anti-turbo format, which I think is also just because it's also an EU event. And I feel like most European players like don't like the big turbo stuff, whereas like a lot of Latin American players gravitate towards the big turbo stuff.
Yeah.
So that's just really, I think that's something we always see. It's just those, the turbo decks do really bad in EU and they do really well in Latin America. And then I feel like US and like North American regionals are just like a hodgepodge of everything.
No, like actually.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have, when it comes to like looking at how the tournament shook out, there's really not much I have to say other than like the tournament like metagame was almost as we kind of predicted.
Yeah.
And in a meta this wide with so many decks that can win basically at any time, I'm not surprised. Overall, to see something like a Cloth Terapagos like top the event or something like that. It literally could have been anything.
Yeah, it did kind of suck just seeing a deck win an IC with basically 2 donks.
Yeah,
but like
that sucks.
That also just shows. I mean, Pecharunt's really good in that deck. Like it's a really good win condition, and like I mean, I would love to know how many games he won that entire day, that entire event, off of like Pecharunt dunk. So I mean, it's a win con. It's a way to play the game. Like, if you don't like it, don't play Pokemon with less than 70 HP. I guess I don't know.
It's tough.
I mean, it is what it is. Because they can do.
Yeah.
Can they do 80? Is that what it is? If you poison and then Toxic Subjugation and the Radiant Sneasler, right?
Yeah.
Because it's the initial 1 plus the 5 plus the 2.
It's 5 plus 1 plus 2. Yeah.
Yeah. So 80, which is kind of crazy. They were doing 80 poison damage in between turns on a 1 prizer with a 1 prize board state. Kind of wild.
Bad.
Yeah, kind of crazy. I don't think this deck survives rotation. I think losing a Rangaroo, you lose Guru,
turbo.
you lose Luminion. Oh, yeah, you're cooked. Yeah, sorry, GG. GG, go next. Yeah. I didn't even think about the double turbo.
Yeah,
which is
double
crazy. We
turbo.
won't have a double colorless type energy in format. That just feels really, it feels really weird. That just feels like one of those staple cards that have like always exists in like the Pokemon trading card game, like Ultra Ball and like
The,
Nest Ball. Like it's just so weird whenever you're in
I
formats
mean,
that don't have that.
I guess like we're in like the reversal era, I guess.
I
Like,
guess so. I mean, maybe that's where they're trying to go with it.
yeah, feels bad.
Yeah, it's
Because like
weird.
we had DTE Twin before that, and
Mhm.
then DCE basically every format.
Yeah, I mean, I remember
Going,
back in the start of Sword and Shield, we had the only ball card in format with chair was Cherish Ball.
yeah,
And it was so weird. Like it just felt so odd. Because you had like there were other ways to search out Pokemon, but like the only like true ball card was Cherish Ball, which just let you grab a GX.
it Quick Ball at the start of
That was it was like the second set, I believe we got Quick Ball.
was it?
I believe so. I remember there was a format where you had only Cherish Ball.
You might
Yeah, I
be right.
believe. Um,
No, that's base set.
yeah, it was base set. So maybe it was right before that then.
Yeah, but you didn't really want to play it base set. I also think right before it rotated to
Because
right
Nest Ball was
before,
like early Sun and Moon, so it probably would have been
there
like
was
that.
there was no Nest Ball, there was no Ultra Ball, there was
Yeah,
no Quick Ball. It was literally just Cherish Ball, I think, at the end of 2019.
yeah. Because so there was an Ultra Ball and a Nest Ball in base Sun and Moon, and then we didn't really get it until later. Because it was after Nest Ball already rotated and then Ultra Ball rotated because that was in Shining Legends.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Yep. Okay.
It was the last like 3 sets of Sun and Moon didn't have a
Yeah,
ball
it was
search
a
other than Cherish
weird.
Ball.
It was so weird. No, it's crazy. Crazy times in the Pokemon trading card game, but we'll get to more crazy times in the Pokemon trading card game in a little bit. I hate this format, Thad. Do you hate this format too?
This format's god awful.
This
The fact that
format
I've
feels
won-
really bad.
the fact that at the end of this format I've won over $180, actually more than that. I've won like what, 200 some dollars in
Yeah, I
prizing with
mean,
Lugia.
which is insane.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. I mean, yeah, I've top eighted more cups than I haven't this format. Like, I think I'm 2 out of 3 on. I've actually top cut every tournament I've gone to. Oh no. I'm 2 out of 3 on top cuts. The only one I missed, I bubbled out at 9th. And that was the full grip cup right at the start
Yeah.
of the format. Yeah. And like it's just so crazy. Like you've won over $180. I've won over $100. And like, yeah, like this format just sucks. Like I just don't enjoy it. Like at all. So like it's
I'm not
kind
having
of
fun.
it kind of sucks. I'm gonna be honest. I'm really excited for next format, and just a different format, I guess. But before we get to new format stuff, I do want to talk about the Justin Basil tier list. So we are transitioning here, throwing in the old transition, dropping it like it's a bad habit. All right.
Oh my
Because
God.
speaking of bad habits, online tournaments exist. So I think first place, we kind of expected this, is Dragapult EX.
Yep.
Not surprising at all. That had almost 25% of the meta share, which is kind of insane. Almost double second place, which finally control players have realized that deck lists are open in almost all online tournaments. Because second place is Snorlax Stall. Jumping up to second place, which kind of makes sense. I think a lot of decks are cutting their switch cards, and just relying on like a Latias Mew kind of combo. And I think it was only a matter of time before Snorlax took advantage of that.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. But that deck made a big jump. It went from 6th to 2nd, making a huge leap there. Dragapult going from 3rd to 1st as well. But moving on down the list, Archaludon EX going from 5th to 3rd. I think that makes sense. It's a really big tanky deck. It's really hard to one-shot that deck. So being a big tanky deck with Turos and all the ways it's able to manipulate the damage on the board and just take that away from you seems really strong. Fourth, going from 8th to 4th, is Cloth with Terapagos EX. That I think we also kind of expected. 5th place is Goldango, making a legendary leap here. I'm going to be honest. They climbed 9 spots to
That's
5th
crazy.
place. So I think we went
That's
from 14 to 5, which is wild. Like, that's pretty crazy.
Yes.
Gardevoir taking a big tumble from 2nd to 6th, which I also I've noticed a very strong fall of Gardevoir decks in like my own local meta and also like the League Cups I've been to. I don't know if you've seen that as well, Thad, but I feel like this deck has kind of just like fallen off as like Dragapult and other decks have seen a really strong footing.
Yeah, it doesn't have the legs.
Yeah, I agree. I think it just kind of loses hard to Snorlax too.
Yeah, you get a weird bricky start and you have to ditch a bunch of resources early. You end up running out of steam like mid to late game.
Yeah, and like this deck
It can be weird.
I think this deck is really good at punishing like the big basic stuff, but really struggles when it has to go 6 prizes with you.
Yes, very much so.
Absolutely. And number 7, the only turbo deck in the top 8 is Miraidon, going from 2nd to 7th. Really struggling here, which I think is just like it's a really luck heavy deck. Like you just have to get really good RNG, and like at some point you can only sequence so good, and you just have to hope your generators hit. And sometimes they're just not hitting.
Yeah.
And I think also like, you know, we've talked about this before, but when you play online tournaments, like I think a lot of newer players or people playing like unoptimal lists, they just gravitate towards the turbo decks. And I think that really, really hurts their showing in these tournaments. Because you just have so many like suboptimal lists.
I mean, you have Raging Bolt lists out here with like 2 or 3 Crispin in them now. So there's that.
Yeah, I'm fully committed to not ever playing a Crispin and Bolt. Like I really just want to find a way to not need Crispin in a post rotation like Walls matchup. Like, yeah. I mean, who knows if it'll happen, but that's definitely on my bucket list. It'd be great. It'd be so nice.
The fact that it's a bucket list.
Bucket list, never use Crispin. It's actually number 1. It's my only bucket list.
Number 1.
Only one item on the list. Number 8, Your Pride and Joy, Lugia, falling from 4th to 8th. I think honestly, kind of the same thing as like Miraidon. I think it's just a lot of players playing suboptimal lists and complaining that that's the reason they're losing and not their bad lists. I think you play bricky deck, you got to play as consistently as possible. So,
yep.
You know,
couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So moving on, Thad, I would love to, on February 27th, 2025, talk about the Pokemon Day presentation we had. Because we had some really cool stuff, though. I think before we jump into the TCG side of it, I forgot how many products Pokemon makes. Between Masters, I forgot Masters existed. Like the Pokemon Masters EX game, I did not know it existed. I forgot.
Everyone does. Honestly, it was such a fun game at first. I actually played a lot of it at first when it first came out.
Downloaded it and never played it.
But we got the biggest news before we get into any of the game stuff. I guess like the side game stuff. We got starters announced.
We did for Pokemon ZA. I am super excited. If you're not playing Totodile, you're just fucking up. I'm just gonna say it right now.
I think you're correct. But I mean, outside that, we got, you know, the Masters stuff, Pokemon Cafe stuff,
Sleep.
I don't know.
Pocket.
Sleep. The new set for Pocket looks pretty legit. Not gonna lie, that's pretty cool.
I gotta be honest, I skipped it.
I saw some of the cool stuff came after in some of the leaks from it. There's like a new Garchomp coming out that looks really sick.
Very cool.
So I'm excited for that.
I'm a big Garchomp stan, so I'm here for it.
I'm also a pretty big Garchomp fan, so that's unfortunate for all of us. But the Garchomp looks sick. The Arceus stuff, there's like a weird, like sort of like sub pool of cards that like interact with Arceus.
Very cool.
So it's kind of interesting that they're adding like a unique mechanic within the game.
Yeah, I think one my favorite thing in Pokemon in the Pokemon Day presentation, it's got to be Pokemon Champions, right? Like,
yeah, dude, Champions is gonna be so
oh,
fucking
I'm
sick.
so excited, and I really hope that like they kind of transition the VGC into a Champions. Like, I think that'd be so cool.
Yeah,
Like, I would love that. I would love
I'm
to see that's
assuming
where it kind of goes.
it seems it's definitely more like Pokemon Stadium-ish, right? Like,
That's the vibe I got for sure. I loved Pokemon Stadium. That was actually the first Pokemon game that I like couldn't put down. Like before I started really getting into like I had Yellow growing up and like that was really cool and I really enjoyed it, but like there was just something about Stadium. It just hooked. It just it got its hooks in me and just made me really love Pokemon. To be honest with you.
I never had a Nintendo console growing up. I only had PlayStation and then like Nintendo handhelds.
Okay.
So I never got to play Stadium. So it's exciting to like get in on like the ground floor of Champions.
For sure. And I think I love that it's also going to be on mobile. I think that's going to be really cool. And we even have a tweet here that I pulled up from Wolf Glick. And I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's okay. You know, he's okay. I don't know. He's only won more tournaments than Fingers. That's what I heard. It was like a 1v 1500 and he won. Yeah. So get good. No. Wolf. He tweeted out, "This could change competitive Pokemon in ways I can't even fathom," and I really agree with that. I think honestly, as a non VGC player, he's just kind of like who I would default to. I don't know. You win that many times, I think you just get to talk your shit, to be honest.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. ZA, I really liked the idea of the I forget what the areas within the city. I thought that was the wild areas. That was really cool. It seems to me, and I really hope they do this, that like the higher up area you go, the more challenging the Pokemon will be, which like would make sense. It'd also be really cool to see more open world stuff. Like we did in Arceus.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it feels like they sort of like combined all the best elements of PLA, Scarlet and Violet, and Sword and Shield.
Yeah.
In the fact that, hold on, my mic is doing something weird. There we go. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yep, we're good.
Okay, cool. Kind of like how in like Sword and Shield, there was like there were wild areas in Sword and Shield too. Like there was like the little like I don't know section in the middle of the map, and there's a even bigger section in the middle of the map, like somewhere up north, where you could like interact with like the Pokemon there. So integrated the wild areas from the Sword and Shield era, then the open worldness of PLA with like the free catching and like the Pokemon dodging and like the real time battle system sort of happening, which is really cool. And then like with like Scarlet and Violet, you know, just sort of like more polished open world of Scarlet and Violet. It really gives me like, while it is only one city, it would be nice if you could have like a game with many of these cities in it.
Yeah.
Like that would be kind of cool to like expand upon this. But I mean, maybe in Gen 10, that's what we're looking forward to is like you take what Lumiose is, but then you add that to like 10 other cities.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I gotta fix something really quick. That my OBS like hid midway through that, so I just needed to get a good cut point. All right. Thad, we have had too much fun so far talking about Pokemon Day. I think it is time to get into the nitty gritty. of the TCG is bringing back Mega Evolutions. I, for one, I'm gonna say my piece, and then I will give you the floor. I'm gonna probably go do my taxes for the next 17 years. Maybe I'll build a second house, like by hand, like grow the trees, break
You
the
don't have
trees
time.
with my bare hands. I think Mega Evolutions are actually not a terrible mechanic. I think they're only terrible when we print broken cards and combinations like ADP and Mew. But I think you might have a little bit of a different take. So I'm going to pass the imaginary torch onto you. The rant torch that I have held for 5 episodes now. And I'm gonna let you just go. I'm gonna set you free and just work through it. Let's make this your therapy for the Pokemon trading card game.
All right, so we're gonna start with this first. I will address why you like it, and that is because Raging Bolt has an uncapped damage output, and you just need 2 knockouts to win a game.
That is
Let's just
incorrect.
put that. Let's just put that there. Let's put that there. Let's put a pin in that.
Okay.
But I will say, there is a good way to go about doing 3 pricers, right? And I think this is not the right way to do it. Ultimately, the power creep is getting to a point where eventually we will just need a full stop, like reset of the TCG, a full big rotation of getting rid of all these cards. When we start looking at 400 and 500, like right now we're on the precipice of 400 HP. That is insane. Like absolutely insane. That is a dumb number to possibly see on a card. Right? Like we saw the 2 that got announced, the Lucario and the Gardevoir. And
Sure.
Gardevoir traditionally of like stage 2 Pokemon does tend to get lower HP values than most. Right? When we look at it just currently as it sits. Right? Gardevoir EX, the regular one that came out in Scarlet Violet base, is 310 HP. You look at all the other stage 2s around it, and most of them are at 330, with few exceptions at 340. Like, so the average stage 2 is around 330. So it's already on the lower end. We saw Mega Gardevoir come out, and that has 360. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I believe so. Yeah.
And then the Mega Lucario has like 320.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely wrong on that. I feel wrong.
I think it was
but, like,
340.
340. I knew it was. See, my mind told me it was an even number. But ultimately, at the end of the day, what we're looking at here is speeding up the game to an unfathomable level. And when we look back at this time, just like we do now at Sun and Moon era with the tag teams and the Sword and Shield era with VMAXs, right? The first tag teams and VMAXs that we saw that gave up 3 prices were super vanilla, right? And almost none of them saw play. I mean, Pika Ram saw play, and that was one of the first announced.
And I feel like they only announced that early because it was Pikachu. Like I think that was just like.
Yeah, I think it was a Worlds announcment. So like it's Pikachu.
Was, yeah.
Like it makes sense, right? Like let's keep it at that. And we're like, okay, like this is good but not broken. We can find ways to play around it. We can find fun ways to play with it, and it's not too bad, right? But we eventually scaled to ADP, right? Like they eventually get there,
sure,
right? And we look at it with the VMAXs, right? We started off with Snorlax VMAX probably being the best of the original VMAXs,
mm-hmm.
And then we scaled to Mew VMAX,
mm-hmm.
right? And you can say it was the Genesect engine. You can say it was this out of the other. It doesn't matter. Mew VMAX was the star of the show. And that won worlds. It won thousands of dollars. I think it's one of the most winningest decks of all time. And they just print broken shit eventually.
Sure.
And that's my problem is I want games to be thoughtful. I want games to I want to be able to sit down and think and fade out the world around me and play a game of Pokemon that doesn't just involve me feeling like I'm pressured in any sort of like immediate fashion,
Sure.
right? The fact that you can turn 2 rare candy into a 360 HP monster is insane, right? Like you look
Yeah.
around at some of the power creep that we have. You're telling me you could go from 70 HP from your basic single prize form to 360. What? We haven't even seen a basic Mega EX yet. And
Yeah.
so who knows what the power level of those are going to be, right? Those tend to have less HP, but will give up more prizes. Sure. I concede the fact that the 3 prize mechanic makes it more balanced for the power level that it has. However, it makes games more unfun than normal. I don't really care for one-shotting things into oblivion,
Sure.
playing 2 turns of a game and being like, all right, it's just the way the cards fall. Like that is just non-interesting, non-fun gameplay. I can just play Roaring Moon EX once these cards come out.
Yeah.
And then just delete something twice.
That honestly, it makes me think Moon might be actually just absolutely cracked. The ability to just like gouging. Please sign slip.
Yeah, like
Fries go in bag for pay for.
Like, you know what I mean? Like there's just like there's an inherent unfunness, not even just for the person that's being done to, but the person that's doing it. Like it never feels good, right? When Mew VMAX and Roaring Moon existed for a short period of time together, anytime I played Mew VMAX, I was like, oh, I just need to wait for you to evolve, and then I win the game.
Yeah.
I just need to attack twice. I don't even need to gouge. I just need to hit with the basic attack and discard a stadium, which was so easy to do because every deck at that point was playing 5 Path to the Peak. So like, what does it matter, right? So like my rant here, and I think that most players would agree, is it is unfun to sit down and determine the game by the coin flip. It is genuinely unfun. And I think that the game designers are trying to not do that, but they always unintentionally get there. These games aren't just like, when you go back to like when I first started playing Pokemon, you were 2 or 3 hitting everything.
Sure.
With very minor exceptions and with very heavy costs.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you were one-shotting with like LBS, you were giving up a ton of resources to get there, and it took you many turns to get to that point to start one-shotting with Lugias. You at least needed like 3 to 4 turns of setup to get there, and you were still only doing 200 damage at most.
Yeah, so I don't know if we've gotten a ton of clarification on this, but if the Mega Evolution requires me to evolve from, like, I have to go like for like Lucario, if I have to go like Riolu, Lucario, Mega Lucario, I think that's fine.
No. It is just straight up Riolu to Mega Lucario.
Yeah. So like if it's like that, I think it's bad. If it's essentially a stage 2, have they officially said that?
Yeah, when you look at the cards that were released, it literally just says evolves from Riolu.
Oh yeah, that's bad. Yeah, I'm still holding out hope it won't be terrible.
I just can't help but think that it's gonna be terrible. We've seen this play out 2 other times with 3 prizers, and no one had fun.
I'm holding out hope. That's all I got right now. Yeah, people who were really good with those archetypes had a lot of fun, and everyone else hated it.
Yeah, or even like people who just knew how to, or people that just countered those archetypes, right? Like,
yeah,
to me, it's just, yeah, literally in the graphic that I will put in the video when I go to edit this, there is just evolves from Riolu on the stupid Lucario.
Yeah, that's fun.
So like, I don't know. I'm not a fan of it. I don't like this game mechanic. I don't like. I think there's like 6 other better ways to do megas.
Yeah, I kind of like the Mega Evolution from XY. Like, you had to have the tool to avoid ending your turn. The cards weren't that broken to where you couldn't be countered by like regular one prize Pokemon.
Yeah.
I think
And I
this,
mean, here's the cards themselves also look extremely fake.
they kind of do, yeah. The weird colors that are just like covering the card, it looks like it's like inkjet printer.
Yeah.
It looks very farmer's market, like I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like obviously like the Lucario and the Gardevoir, like we can say all day how good they're gonna be with like the new like fighting E-Power Premium Power Pro, which adds 30 damage used by your fighting Pokemon to the other opponent's active Pokemon. But like they're gonna
Yeah,
print
so
some absolutely disgusting things.
that's 390 damage if you can get all 4.
Yeah, which is kind of absurd. But then you're also like talking about committing all 4 in your deck for 1 attack.
But like the fact that these numbers are even real is crazy.
Fun fact, that
You
is
know what
also
I mean?
before applying weakness and resistance. So if they're weak, that is now 60. So with weakness, your Mega Brave could do, or honestly, let's just do Aura Jab, because that's 1 energy. That is a turn 2 attack you could easily do. With weakness, we're talking about 320 damage with only 1 Power Pro.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So hopefully this doesn't become an ADP Mew VMAX situation, but I think a lot of players are reasonably concerned. I'm just holding out hope. I am holding out hope because I thought Sun and Moon was a phenomenal era of Pokemon, and I just want that back. And like pre-Budu, it felt very Sun and Moon to me. Like 2 prizers were the meta, but 1 prizers also had a very strong way to beat the 2 prizers, and like it felt very balanced, and overall everyone was able to have fun, but like control was also a viable thing to a certain extent. Like I just hope we don't ruin it. I don't want the game to suck again. I left because the game sucked. I don't want to leave the game because the game sucks again. I think honestly, at this point, if the game stopped being fun, I would probably just lean more into like running our league and just being more of a judge organizer role in the game until the game was fun again. I mean, we've definitely seen a couple players, most notably like Michael Pramawat has been doing a lot more judging at the regional level, which is really cool to see. Like, you know, one of the most like winningest players in the game, like still being around the game even though not wanting to play the game probably. But yeah, I think everyone's just holding out hope that this isn't terrible.
I mean, that's all we got at this point. I hope that they don't ruin it with like stupid broken abilities. I mean, I'm such a negative Nancy about it. I can't even pretend to hope.
Well, that's good. At least you're not pretending.
No, I'm not a faker.
He's a faker, chat. You hate to see it,
Mm.
but
Never fake it.
one thing I would love to talk about here is we had in Pokemon ZA, we had a really cool different starters, which I believe are from different generations as well.
They are not.
Are they all from the same generation?
Chikorita and Totodile are from Gen 2.
Yeah. So they're not all 3 from the same generation. Which,
I see. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
My bad.
So I think what would be really cool and really fun to finish out this episode is if we went and looked at all of the starters from each generation and kind of gave our thoughts on who is the best starter from each generation. So obviously Gen 1 in the Kanto region, we had Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle. Thad, what is your favorite?
This one is easy because Charmander.
Ooh, Squirtle Squad all day.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I'm thinking about this from a more design perspective and less like how fun were they in the game, or like how good were they in the game.
I do a little bit of both, right? Like you got two different forms of Mega Charizard.
What's a Mega? I don't believe in Mega Pokemon. Megas don't exist, Dad. All right, moving on to the Johto region where we had Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal. Chikorita,
My favorite game.
Cyndaquil. Which one? Gold?
Crystal was my favorite
Crystal?
game.
That's very cool.
It still is.
Mine was Scarlet and Violet, obviously. Best game ever, no bugs at all.
Krung.
Honestly, mine's probably Diamond or Pearl. I think Gen 4 was peak, personally. We have Chikorita, Cyndaquil, or Totodile. Who do you got?
Gator all day. Gator all day, baby.
Team Gator all day over here. Honestly,
Literally though. Like,
I mean,
one of my favorite cards of all time.
Gator's just so
cool
than
anything.
Yeah, I mean it's
but
just
continue.
It's the Gator. Like how do you hate on the Gator?
Like the Gator is always here, brother. The Gator is here.
The Gator is always here. It's crazy. All right. In Gen 3, moving on to the Hoenn region, where we had Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. We have Trico, Torchic, or Mudkip.
I'm a big Trico lover myself. I think Sceptile is one of the coolest designed Pokemon.
I think Sceptile sucks.
Definitely the best. Definitely the best grass starter.
I don't agree with that, but we'll get to that when we hit that gen. I'm going Torchic. I like the Torchic. I don't know. Because Torchic turned into Blaziken, right? I'm not remembering that correctly.
No, you're
right?
correct.
Yeah. Blaziken is fire. Blaziken is fire. Quite literally. Yeah. I love Blaziken. Super cool. Absolute W.
Sure.
I mean, I get it. You're just a hater. It's fine. You hate fun. Like 3 prize
Always.
Pokemon. But anyway, moving on before Tad goes on a rant again. Gen 4 in the Sinnoh region with the Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum games, we had Turtwig, Chimchar, and Piplup. I am going Chimchar because it is the best fire starter.
Piplup, one of my favorite water starters. Actually, I think it might be my favorite water starter outside of Totodile. I mean, it's super close with that in Totodile. I love Empoleon, dude. Such a cool design. Like
Empoleon is cool. Empoleon's a good evolution, but like Chimchar is just chef's kiss. It is my favorite fire starter. I got a really soft spot for the monkeys. The monkeys just get me.
Oh, you love the Simisear line?
I'm blinking really fast at you right now. You can't see this, but everyone else will in the video. It's fine. Moving on to Gen 6 in the Unova region from Black and White. Snivy, Tepig, and Oshawott.
This might be my most unpopular opinion, but it's definitely Tepig.
I am a Tepig boy as well. He's a little piggy, you know? How are you gonna hate on a little piggy? Like he's honestly adorable. Like I don't know how we can be a hater on the Tepig. If you're a Tepig hater, in the comments down below, just type the following: I hate fun and love playing Snorlax, because that's apparently what you are.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite Pokemon that come out of Scarlet and Violet was Lechonk. So
the Chonkers. I mean, listen, if you don't have a Lechonk mat or a coin, you might be me. I don't have either of those.
I have 2 Lechonk playmats, 2 Lechonk t-shirts.
I love that you have a Lechonk. You have 2 Lechonk t-shirts, which is hilarious to me. That's great.
Yeah. A piece of shit for that stupid.
But anyway, moving on to Gen 6. Actually, this might be my least favorite game. In the Kalos region, we had Pokemon X and Pokemon Y. I just thought this game was kind of mid. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, this is super mid.
Chespin, Fennekin, and Froakie.
Arguably the worst starters.
Honestly,
of
Froakie
any generation
is gas.
Froakie's cool.
Froakie saved this gen from being absolutely god-awful.
I'm not going to lie, though. Like, I really like Fennekin.
I just love Greninja.
Greninja's cool.
Shout out to the homie Orlando. He is a local of ours who is a Greninja's greatest warrior.
Pour one out.
Pour one out for the homies. But anyway, moving on to Gen 7 in the Alola region. The Sun and Moon starters are Rowlet, Litten, and Poplio. And who do you got?
I got Rowlet.
I also have Rowlet. He's just an adorable little owl.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, I want to give it to Litten, but I just can't. Like, the Rowlet eyes just like break into your soul, and are just like, how do you not pick me?
He's just a circle.
He literally is a circle with feet. Yeah, like it's actually funny how much of an orb he is. Like it's actually really funny. And definitely in Gen 8, the Galar region, where we had such characters as Swordbird and Shieldbird. Hop, the most auralist trainer of all time. We have Grookey, Scorbunny, and Sobble. Who do you got?
I'm going to go with Grookey again.
I'm going with Grookey because he's the best grass starter of all time.
Definitely not the best grass starter of all time. But however,
that's
was the first time since Gen 3 that I started my first playthrough with a grass type Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw Grookey and was just like, yes, you now in my party immediately. I did kind of want the Scorbunny though, just because the Scorbunny is really, I do like the rabbit design of the Scorbunny. Has very like Bugs Bunny vibe to me.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
Kind of looks like Bugs Bunny in Space Jam.
Yeah, for sure. And then our last gen, the most recent generation, Scarlet and Violet. Gen 9, we have Spirigatito. I think I'm probably butchering the crap out of that, but it's fine. Fuecoco and Quaxley. Sprigatito for me.
Oh, Fuecoco for me, 100%. Stupid alligator. I got a water gator. I got a fire gator. I just need my grass gator.
Now, the reason I can't go for it, and I will explain why. When this game came out, someone told me this was Joe Biden, and I could never unsee that.
What was?
Just a derpy looking gator with its mouth open. They're like, this is Joe Biden. And I was like, damn, I can never unsee that. And everyone in the comments, you can go ahead and just tell me how dumb that is and how angry you are that you now have to see that. Like, I can't unsee it. And it's so crazy.
I can see it, but I am ignoring it.
And Quaxley is Donald Trump. Like,
yeah.
Sprigatito, the only one left alive. Please, no political figures look like Sprigatito ever again. Anyway, with that, this has been an interesting episode, I will say.
Definitely an interesting one.
Definitely interesting. The first podcast where you've really just let it send. You know, you've really just not held back your love of three prizers, and they're definitely not going to ruin the game.
They won't ruin the game for some people, but for most of us, welcome. If you're new to Pokemon, now is the time to...
If you're new to Pokemon, welcome to hell.
Buckle up. Buckle
up. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
It's going to be a long
we're going
3 years.
Three.
God.
I do think we won't really see these till like 2026, so like that's at least nice.
No, I think that these are probably going to be our like next rotation.
Yeah. I think we're thinking like 4 sets from now.
Yeah, definitely.
Like,
I mean, we got to get through like maybe I am anticipating getting through. We're probably going to have an entire year of trainers Pokemon.
Yeah.
And then we'll move into the megas. Since
it'd be really funny if the megas just suck.
I would love that.
That'd be really funny
like it because
I don't think so either.
Attacks.
Yeah, and these are like the mid ones. Like we always start with the mid ones, and it just gets way better.
I mean, the Gardevoir being able to play the regular Gardevoir, 50 damage per energy.
When does that rotate?
Regular Gardevoir will likely rotate when hopefully that comes out.
That's what I think we're doing. I think like they might have one format where they're just cracked together and they're just absolutely absurd.
Yeah, there's
And
just
you
gonna be.
go-
I'm anticipating there's gonna be one really big shitty format.
Yeah, and that's
It'll be
usually
the
how
same
it
thing
is.
that we're in right now. It'll be the same thing like we're in right now, where like we'll get these cards at the end of this year, and then we'll have an entire like 6-month period where no new cards come out, just like what we're in right now.
Yeah, I agree. Hopefully, that's not the case. You know, I think
Hopefully I'm
both
wrong.
of us are holding out hope. But either way, Thad, I appreciate you being on today's episode. I appreciate everyone for watching. This has been the episode 6 of the PokeStop podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and let us know what you think of today's episode. If you liked it, if you hated it, tell us in the comments down below. And we will see y'all next week for another episode of the PokeStop podcast. See you later.